Yeah. Hang on a second. I'm going to close that door because I can hear that hamster.
Hello, and welcome to Filling in the Gaps. I'm Justin.
I'm Darren.
Today we're going to discuss a game that is, I want to say a sequel, but I guess it's technically DLC for Superhot, which is Superhot Mind Control Delete. We have, when I checked today, we had exactly the same playtime.
Oh, really?
Which is 33.2 hours.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that includes a couple hours of wasted time in there that we're going to talk about later. But I would say that there is a solid 30 hours of play if you enjoy what you get with this one. In fact, you got 100% achievement in that time, right? Yep. Yeah, and so did I. The dev and publisher for this, the Superhot team, already a very positive rating with 2,400 reviews. And it was released very recently back in July 17th, 2020. So we're very early to this one, and we're very early to this one because it was free for us.
Yep, thank you.
It was an amazing thing for them to give away because they're charging $25 at base.
Yeah, I mean, they gave away millions of copies of this.
I think even when they launched it, it was on sale, but I can't remember, it was 15 or 20?
Yeah, something like that. It's been in early access for years. We have waited a long time, and we've talked about it before quite a bit on the show or on our Steam sale, like if this is going to come out, or like you should buy Superhot now because you'll get it for free down the line. But even on the day that it got released, they weren't like, oh, well, if you didn't buy it, then you don't get it for free now. They were still like, okay, you got 24 hours to pick up Superhot, and we'll still give you it for free. So good devs, man. Yeah.
It is very much like the first game with, I would say, less story, but I think that is part of what they were going for, and we will talk about that later. I will say as well that I'd say this year, I had a chance, as I've mentioned, I think in my sale video, that my brother-in-law took me to a place where we could try out VR games, and we had an hour, and I spent half of that time just on Superhot VR. I think it's fantastic. Throwing felt a bit awkward, whereas in Mind Control Delete, the one we're talking about today, I love the throwing aspect. I'm probably going to spend...
It's all about throwing.
at least a few minutes talking about that later. What I would say is Superhot VR, out of all the other games that I tried for the second half hour, nothing made me feel quite as much like I was in the game as Superhot. And I think that it is a fantastic VR game. In this game and in the base Superhot game, there is no ducking. I think there's jumping, but there is no ducking. But in the VR game, there is ducking. And you can almost Neo from the Matrix your way around bullets in a way that you cannot do in just the console version. The VR version is pretty amazing. So if you're looking to get into Superhot and you don't have any of them and you happen to have a VR headset, I would definitely say just go ahead and get the whole bundle. I think they're all worth it. I think that you will put in enough time to make it worthwhile. Now, I know the VR one is much shorter. I think that it's only about an hour to an hour and a half, but it's just so amazingly done and feels so intuitive once you're in there. I think it's worth it, especially if you're going to look at the amount of time for all these games in total.
Yeah. How much is the VR one? Do you know?
No. I don't remember. I didn't look it up. I think it's about the same. I think it's about 25.
Okay. I mean, that's great because, I mean, you've got 4 games now that you can play that are all set in this.
4?
Yeah. Well, I would include the Superhot prototype. Way back in the day, it was one of those 7-day FPS kind of game jam games, and you can play it online. It'll take you like 10 minutes to complete it. But it's basically what Superhot was in the very beginning, and there's a nice little bit of story in there that helps piece together some things that maybe come later or that my brain has invented for later. So we'll be talking about that for sure. But yeah, I love this game. Right, and I don't just love it because it was free. I love it because they took something it's such a simple concept. I mean, it's not simple. I mean, it's a really unique concept. But the idea is like, kill red guys. And they've managed to do something completely different, really extrapolate that out to like the nth factor now with all the hacks and stuff and new weapons and new throwables and adding total new dimensions to what was otherwise a very kind of linear game to play in the first place.
Personally, I kind of prefer the linear version, but I did really enjoy this. This was a solid week to week and a half of whenever I'm bored, this game came on and I would play it for hours. It's good. If you like first-person shooters, if you like the idea of, as I think anybody who's listening to this knows what Superhot is, and the idea of the world moving so slowly when you don't move that you actually have a chance to plan all your moves in advance. There's a lot more, as you said, that they've added to this game with some new, what they call hacks, which would be kind of like new superpowers, sort of, that you have, that really do make it feel like it's its own game. There are some different enemies that, again, make it its own game. If you're in this one for the story, it's not really going to be worth it. But if you're in it for the action, the strategy shooting, just something to take your mind off the world for a couple hours, Superhot Mind Control Delete is definitely that, and I would highly recommend it to almost anyone. But if we're going to talk about it anymore, we need to get into the spoiler section. So if you're really worried about spoilers, but again, there's not much story. There's only really one section I think that we're really going to be spoiling. But if you're worried about that, now's the time to turn away. Okay, we're back. Spoiler section, there's not much of a story. So what I've done with this one is broken it down by sections, different kind of categories talking about the game. We will talk first about when it came out. We both looked up the how long to beat. It's one of the things you and I both want to know. How long is it going to take us to get there?
Yeah.
How much time will it take, especially when it comes to something that we want to record. We want to know when we will be able to record it. We were hoping to get in very early on this one, which we are. So we wanted to know how much time will it take. And one of the top times was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We talked about this. We highly suspect that that's because about 15 minutes into the game, it says something like,
You won.
You won. This is the end. There is no more. And anybody who, I guess, doesn't really understand what Superhot is would go, oh, well, that was very boring and short DLC, which is not at all what it is. So 15 minutes is not at all. 33 hours, I think, is much more likely. Now, if you can make it through perfectly every time, if you can speed run through it, it won't take 33 hours because I would say half of that time is me having to try again and again and again.
Yeah, I'd say if you could, I should have looked it up, like actually how long a speedrun of the whole thing would take, but I'd say if you could go through flawlessly through every level, I don't know, I still think it would take you a good 8 hours.
Have there already been speedruns of it?
Well, it's been in early access for 2 years, man. So a lot of people have
Okay, well, that's interesting just because when we were preparing for the episode, we both noticed a dearth of knowledge about this game. There just doesn't seem to be a lot out there as far as videos or info. I was able to find a website that had posted all the hacks and what they do, but even that didn't really go into too much detail. It basically just said, this is what they are. I guess this is what it's like to come early to a game. We're not used to this feeling.
Yeah. I get that sometimes with puzzle games that I buy on the day, and it's pretty funny to watch the reviews. And there's no walkthroughs for this. You're on your own. And it's like, yep, this is a hard one. But yeah, I think a lot of people were like us, maybe. And because we knew we were getting it for free, a lot of people purposely held back. But then again, you got the Superhot hardcore fans. There was a lot of people who bought into early access. Good stuff, support the developers and things like that. But yeah, I think a lot of people waited it out, and here we are.
To progress through the game, you essentially have to follow these nodes on a map, a kind of flowchart map. And you go through, and within each node is typically multiple fighting maps. There are, I saw somebody say 32, but I think that there's 31 maps.
There's 32 on the, because I did all the secrets for them. There's 32 on the endless maps.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So there's 32 maps, which you're going to see most of them many, many, many times. But they do some interesting things with that in the fact that, like Superhot, it's going to get harder as time goes on. So different things change. Different enemies get introduced. The maps start to become blocked in some ways, or the parallax gets messed with, which
is really weird.
I didn't really like. It's very difficult to throw things at a distance or to shoot at a distance when
the background is moving as well.
The background is moving, and also the people that you're aiming at, or the red guys that you're aiming at, are not where they appear to be.
Yeah, because there's a point where I was looking up and there's a guy walking above me, and it's like there's always a floor there. So I threw a knife up, and it's like, boom, just hit the bottom of the...
I tried 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you through that floor.
No, you can't. Yeah, those things made me, actually, they made me feel a bit sick, to be honest, like, just going through them. I don't even get motion sickness, but I didn't feel great doing this. Thankfully, that's not something that gets worse and worse and worse as the game goes on. It seems to come at random, for me anyway. I only had maybe 2 or 3 that really stood out that were really heavy on that kind of stuff, but all the rest were fine. One thing that, not to compare Superhot and Mind Control Delete too much,
I think
but
you totally
we have
can,
to, I think. But I do miss the puzzle aspect of the first-person shooter from Superhot, where every level was the same, and you would die, and then you would repeat, and then you would get a little bit further, and you would die, and you would know where enemies are spawning from because they come from the same point all the time. But in this game, it's more of a rogue-like, I guess, and you spawn in different locations, in different maps at random. Yeah, it can be quite frustrating when you get to like level 13 out of 15 with 1 life left, and then you're like, nope, back to the beginning. And I did that a lot.
There also didn't seem to be a way to restart the node, so you kind of had to
once you choose your hack, yeah, it's like you would have to manually exit out of it if you're like, oh, I want to try a different hack. But I didn't, because switch bodies all the way. Team switch.
Team more hearts all the way. Clearly the most important. We'll get to that towards the end. I would say that, again, I think I mentioned this earlier, it is a really clever way to make use of having the limited maps to have you always spawn in a different location. There were some maps that I didn't even realize were the same map I had seen before because I had spawned in a different area that I had never been in before. Corridors is one in particular where there's a whole upstairs area that I didn't realize was there for a long time. I knew it was there, but I never made it up the stairs because early on, there aren't as many guys, so you don't have to spend as much time in it.
I spent at least 28 hours in game going, where is the helicopter in the helipad? Where's the actual helipad? I didn't realize there's this massive lane that you can walk up all the way up to the top.
I've never, in all my play, I still haven't made it there.
Oh, well, you'll see it now. Yeah, because there's like a thing where you go up this long walkway, you smash something at the top, and it's like, get to the chopper, and you look across like, oh, there's a helicopter over there. There's the helipad. But it takes you like a good 5 seconds to climb up this ramp, basically, turn around and see it more clearly. But yeah, the maps are very clever, I think.
Can you interact with the helicopter in any way?
There's a terminal there.
Okay. I found a terminal in the canal.
There's a terminal in the canal, yeah. Oh, is that where you got yours?
Yeah.
I get mine in the lab. Yeah. There's one clear as day in the lab. There's one for every level.
There's one in the kitchen, but it's behind bars or something. I can't get to.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we can talk about that later. I guess.
Okay.
Let's get all the other stuff done.
So, again, it's just clever how much they've done with so little and having you do over and over again. But I also prefer the linear. I prefer the puzzle aspect of it. I prefer the more kind of cerebral. With this one, it's much more go with the flow, be flexible, use what you've got. And it is still in a way that puzzle solving, but because it's not the same every time, you're just having to change it up every time. And I feel like a lot of the challenge becomes the sheer numbers of enemies that are coming, or the obstacles they've given you in the later nodes by blocking your way that this would normally be my escape route if somebody's coming after me. Now it's blocked off.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, as opposed to here's a puzzle, solve it. So it doesn't have that same feel. It's a different game. I mean, it uses the same mechanics, the same ideas, but it does feel like a different game.
Yeah, and I think the developers themselves even realized that this was turning into something way bigger than what they envisioned in the first place. Because I think when they did say, oh, this is going to be free DLC for everybody, I don't think they realized they're going to make a 30-hour game, but they kept their promise, so good for them.
Well, it could be even longer. I've got all the achievements, but I've not 100% done all of this game.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I kind of like with this game is they could have been real, for want of a better word, about this and said, no, you got to do node 100 to get 100%, or you got to find all the secrets to get 100%, or blah, blah, blah. Whereas we got 100%. I'm happy with that, and I can walk away from it. Now, I did go back, get all the secrets, but there's no way I'm doing node 100. No, not a chance.
Node 100, for those that haven't made it through yet, it is, I don't think it's every map, but it's almost every map in one node, and good luck to you. I have not made it through, I think, even halfway at this point.
I saw a guy doing a speedrun of that because I wanted to see what happened at the end of it. And he's a guy who's like, he holds the world record speedrun for Superhot, which is something like 11 minutes or something like that, ridiculous. And he did it in just over 90 minutes. So if he can do it in 90 minutes, it's going to take me 4 years to get through that, man. There's no way. No way. So I'll leave that to the pros.
But I think the biggest thing about missing the puzzle aspect is the fact that each level felt finished.
Mm-hmm.
In this version, they just keep sending more enemies at you. More waves and waves until you've killed enough to move beyond this level. And that doesn't feel as good. Getting to the end of a level, clearing it, clearing the room, clearing the map, and hearing the Superhot felt like, oh yeah, I did something. I finished it. I moved to the next part. Whereas this one, you can look and see that there's more guys sometimes right in front of your face as you finish that one map in the node. And also, you finished this one map, but you haven't finished the whole node. So you don't really get that feeling until after you've gone all the way through, which for some of these is 15, 20. It's a lot to get through to get that same feeling that I would get after just one map in the original game.
And I think in this game as well, when you do finish the node, they even have that sound effect of that sigh of relief at the end. Because that's how you know it's, oh yeah, this was the last level, because you can hear that. And that's how I felt every time. Yeah, I don't know why they chose not to have even just like a death counter. Like, okay, you're in this map, you got to kill 15 guys. 15, 14, 13, 12, and then count down. Because there's points where you're like, is this the last guy? I hope it is, because there's a bullet almost about to enter my brain from behind, or some guy with a katana swinging at me, but I'm pointing my gun at someone else to kill them, and then everyone's heads simultaneously explode. It's like, oh phew, that was the last guy. I definitely don't like that kind of guesswork, where it's a crapshoot of, is this the last guy or not?
I would prefer that as well, for the same reason, but also for what they've done with this one, where they give you the chance to save your replays to the cloud. And then it kind of gets just put up on you can look at other people's, but we couldn't find, at least yet, a way for us to watch each other's directly, like to look up
search,
each other's.
Yeah, I didn't see a search function yet.
But having that, I think, is great. I think there's nothing better, well, very little better than Superhot for here's some highlights.
And what a great name for it, Killstagram.
It's fantastic. I love the fact that it exists, but if I knew how many, then I could end on a good note. There's so many of mine that end with just me looking down for my next weapon.
Yeah, mine's of me like running around a corner, like, oh, let's look at this pillar for 2 seconds at the end of this really good run. And like, nah, I'm not putting that up.
Let's not look at the amazing shot I pulled off in the distance because I was still moving to get the next weapon.
Exactly, because you're like, is that the last guy? Maybe not. So I got to go and grab that paint palette to whack someone in the face with. What I really love about the Killstagram as well is the user handles. They're all like adjective, 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 and then animal. What was yours?
Yes, okay. Because you don't get to choose. It's made up for you, I think, at random. Mine was unripe yellow plum sable.
Okay. So my handle was little partial saffron cormorant. But some of them, I looked them up because I did go to the main page and like look through some of the other good ones. Here are some of my favorites. There was whole remarkable copper chicken, empty trim violet barracuda, shady attached desire baboon, playful infinite maroon kangaroo, and striped robot sunset rabbit. Oh, sorry, striped robust sunset rabbit.
Oh, there's probably somebody who has the mistake when you said they got really excited just now hearing
that was me.
Yeah.
Nah, sorry, that wasn't you.
I don't know if anybody would actually, like, I had to write it down. I would never remember.
I remembered mine.
Unripe yellow plum sable.
I did a lot of checking out those kills. I enjoyed looking back at them, but yeah, like you said, it's like a lot of them are just duds because, yeah, you're not looking at that kill. If I got a good one, which hopefully we're showing in the video right now, some of them were very on purpose where I started to get a feel for it. I'm like, okay, something cool is going to happen here. Even if I die. Oh, no, you can't do that because even if you die, you don't get the replay. You don't get to save your replay, which
you
sucks.
only get to save the good ones. Though they do have an annoying thing where you can watch the replay almost any time. So even while you're playing, it gives you the option to replay like the last kill or something. Well, what bothers me about that is those words are always on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. I really just want to focus on the game and not see that flashing below me.
Yeah. I don't know why they went with that, but I mean, I understand that for the endless levels where you might not want to save a 6 gigabyte file to your...
But I don't think you can save those.
Nah. Oh, really? But there's definitely an option to save replay, though. But I think it must only do it in chunks.
I think so, because I've seen a few on the homepage where I went to watch them, and it was 1 kill.
Right.
And so I think that they're just, they went, well, I really like that one.
Right.
And then rewound it and saved that one little section. I never did that.
Mm.
It was all or nothing for me.
Right.
Let's get into some of the things that they've done differently in this game. So, for one thing, the enemies. We had mostly the same, but we also had some that were made of concrete instead of glass, and they would only have a glass leg or a glass arm or a glass torso.
No glass heads, though.
No.
Which I found odd. But I thought when I first saw those enemies, I was like, is it going to get worse progressively? Is it going to be just a glass hand? A glass finger? Luckily, it kept it to the limbs.
Which you cannot punch them unless you have a hack. Well, you can only attack the glass part, essentially. Mm-hmm. If you punch them in their concrete head, nothing will happen. One thing that I would like to see them change, if they could, is that it makes the same sound whether you're actually connecting on the glass part of it.
Oh, right, yeah.
Or whether you're connecting on the concrete part. So by sound, by audio, you think, at least I often thought, I didn't connect when I actually had. And I would like for them to change that. And if I connect with the glass part, give me the glass sound, right, not the concrete thud. Worse, though, would be the porcupine guys, as we came to call them.
Yeah.
These spiked guys that have different spikes in different parts of the body. And when they die, those shoot out like bullets and will kill whatever's nearby, including you, the player, if you're in the wrong spot. So running around the corner after killing one became my favorite thing.
Yep.
You were the one who figured out that if you punch them, they don't actually explode until they hit the ground. That saved me quite a lot of hassle because I was always running around the corner. And if I didn't have a corner, I was just running away from them.
Right.
And trying to avoid them. Having the punch option gave me enough time to punch and often get around a corner I wouldn't have normally.
There's also one other way that you can kind of solve those guys, and that is if you shoot them, and if you're standing right next to them, you usually don't get killed. So if you've not got any options, no corners, you're actually better to go into close quarters with them and then shoot them.
You can also pay attention to where the spikes are, because the spikes are going to
show you where they're going to go, yeah.
So I did use that a couple times, but that's a bit more thinking than I'm usually ready to do in the moment.
It is a lot of fun, though, when you use one of those guys against the other guys. I've got one kill where I shot one guy and I think I took out him and then 2 other guys at the same time. It's like, yeah, that's a very satisfying kind of kill.
Especially with that glass sound going off in the different locations. As well, they have mines which do the same thing.
Mines are annoying, man. They're so annoying.
They are. Again, can be fun if you happen to have guys walk right into the right spot. And you can throw something into it or shoot into it and take them out with it. That can be very fun. But there were some times in the station in particular where the doorway behind me was blocked and I'm spawning behind the counter. Mm-hmm. So there's nowhere for me to run.
All right. Yeah.
And there's the mine. My only way to get out. I'm trapped between a wall and a mine and 2 to 3 guys right in front of me at the start. That's a bit much. Yeah. There were some spawn points that were a bit much. In particular, I think the mansion where you would start out on the balcony, because there were always 2 guys right in your face when it started.
Yeah, that's really, I don't know what the programming is behind that, but the guys, when it starts off, when it's basically, there's a guy mid-swing with his katana into your face, those guys I can deal with. It's when they spawn 2 guys in front of you, and as you go towards them, they back away from you. And there's no way to get to them. That's why Switch became my favorite in core power. Because when I got those guys, I'm like, well, I'm just going to zip right into you. Then you can't get away from me. Because those guys that are just backpedaling away from you and shooting at you with shotguns as they go away, those are my hardest start points. Like, I don't know if that was the same for you, but when there were 2 guys and they're walking away from you, not engaging, that was hard, man. Because every time you turn to look, it's like, time is moving. What can I throw? What can I throw? There's nothing. Oh, there's something just over there, but I have to move to reach it. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, some of those, especially getting in that situation towards the end of like a node on like 7 or node 8 was like really, let's like throw this thing out the window. Yeah, okay, I'm done.
Worse still, though, are the other enemies, the super killers.
I love those guys though, but yeah, they're
I didn't like them at first.
They scared me at first,
now,
man.
Because there's an audio cue when they come in. It's like, no. It reminded me of the original Twisted Metal, the final boss. The sound that they gave him was so just heart-pounding, frightening. You knew. And this is the same as like, boom. Oh, I've got to run.
And you don't know where he's spawning from.
You cannot kill them, which is really irritating. At least I never found a way.
I don't think you can.
They each 3 have their different power based on the cores. So with our cores, we had one of the first ones was more hearts, my favorite. The next was charge, where you jump into somebody's face and then you can punch them. The one connected to that is the killer I refer to as the wolf, but you refer to as the dog. Constantly. No matter how many times I say wolf, you will say dog. I think that we need to call it the charge dog, at least. It sounds cooler.
He is dog because he's in one of the terminals. The names for all of them are in the terminals, in the secret terminals. So his name is definitely Dog, because Dog was in Superhot as well. Good dog. You know, as they always said that, yeah?
We have the recall core, which is the one where you can throw the katana and then bring it back to you. And when it comes back to you, it can kill people along the way.
Which I thought I was going to have way more fun with than I actually did. I was like, oh, when I texted you, I was like, oh man, it's like Star Wars. You're going to be a Jedi. It's like, I never used it, man.
Listeners, this is what the entire time Darren played was like. He would get a new hack or get a new core and say, oh, this one's amazing. This is so great. I love it. And then about half an hour later go, oh no, that one's rubbish. So imagine getting these.
Because there's so many hacks.
It's like 20 times. And me going, here's the thing. Normally Darren has played something where he's ahead of me in pretty much every game, except for this one. I was well ahead of him for most of this game. Even though you started ahead of me, but then you had a bit of a glitch where it didn't save and sent you back.
Yeah, for some reason I got through. Yeah, I had a problem with node 4. I think it was moving from node 3 to node 4 or 4 to 5. But I got to 5 and then I was like, I'll quit for the night. Restart. It's like, oh, I'm at the beginning of node 4. And for some reason, node 4 was more difficult for me than node 7.
The ninja is very deadly, probably the worst of the 3 for me.
For me too, yeah. In fact, he was the first one. Once when you get to the end where it's like, give up, he was my first one to give up because I was like, I wonder what'll happen. And he disappears when you give him up. Even if you have not completed all of node 8, you can still get into the give up section. If you go into the give up section and give up the ninja, then he never appears again, which is great.
Right. But you also lose the access to that core.
But you lose that, but no big deal.
Because, as I found, with certain ones, particularly the recall one, it would work really beautifully if you also got the hack for Start with Katana.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I could go through 3 or 4 maps and never see a katana and never get to use that. So that was part of the problem with some of these, is they synergized well if you lucked into certain things, but you couldn't guarantee that, which is why I liked more hearts, because it didn't matter. It worked with everything.
Yeah.
Our final super killer was, I don't know what to call him, the telepath, perhaps?
I think he's called the addict.
Ah, okay. Well, the addict, I don't know why that works. Anyway, that goes with the hot switch core, and the hot switch core is the one that allows you to switch bodies. This was a bit disappointing to me because I do like hot switch, but I didn't like choosing between that and more hearts. I also found that this is one thing that I found a bit crushing after playing the original game and then playing this one where you get hot switch towards the end of the game. It's just one more power that you have. Here, you have to choose it. It feels like the kind of thing where you start off God of War, you have all the powers, you lose the powers, you get them back again. This one, you get them back again, but you don't get to keep all of them. You only get to choose certain ones. A little frustrating because hot switch felt like a core thing from the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got it, I was excited, and I realized from now on, I'm going to have to choose between this and more hearts.
But I mean, the thing is, if you take hot switch, then you've always got the option for kill heal, which will help you get some more hearts anyway. But yeah, if you choose hot switch, you never get the option for 4 hearts or 5 hearts or whatever. But I found, honestly, just having the 2 hearts, I got through quite well. Because hot switch is a lifesaver, man. It doesn't matter how many hearts you have. That is an extra kill. And so when the dog is bearing down on you and is ready to charge you and punch you in the face, and there's a guy, but you've got no bullets, no nothing, but there's a guy at the other end of the room, but you've got a hot switch, it's like zip. And it's a good way to escape from those killers as well, I found, because running away from them, maybe there's some videos where you'll see me running away, or you, if you've got some of you running away from them, but it's almost like comedy, man, just me jumping over fridges, and there's like jumping, shooting in midair, just trying to kill everything. Because yeah, those guys are scary when you don't have hot switch, or if it's on the cooldown. And also having a hot switch with that multiple one where you can like zip in like 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've got everyone lined up in line of sight and you can do it quickly, that's 4 kills immediately.
I was never able to get more than 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, 1, I didn't do it as much, obviously. But also, I just don't think that I set it up well. Some of the maps don't work out well for that. You almost sometimes have to run away to keep the guys alive, whereas I was killing them as soon as I saw them, trying to get rid of them. Let's talk about some of the hacks now. The hacks I've grouped differently than any list I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So the first set would be healing hacks or heart hacks, right? So if you start with 2, you can sometimes get a 3 HP. You can get, even with the 3, you can get 4 HP or 5 HP. Kill heal, which you mentioned already, you kill enough, which again, we don't know how many it is.
It seemed random to me.
There's probably a set number. You kill enough, you get a bonus heart that, they call it a temporary heart, but it basically just stays with you until you lose it.
Yeah, I mean, it stays with you until the end of the node, I guess. But yeah,
I guess maybe that's it. Yeah, but it's not like you would expect to keep it beyond.
Keep it to the next one. Yeah, it always resets. So yeah, that's a bit silly.
Or my probably most used hack, which is heal, which will fill all my hearts that I have. So in particular, if I have 5 and I'm down to 1 or 2, this is fantastic. This has been my saving grace many, many, many times.
Yeah, basically my staple was, with using hot switch, was that anytime I got a choice between heal and something, I probably needed heal, even if it was just to take back that 1 heart.
Well, that's 50%.
I only had 2, but it's like, yeah, so the difference between game over and continue. So always take the heal.
With regards to shooting, there was more bullets per gun, which was okay, but not great.
It's definitely okay if you're into the machine gun, because that only has like 3 shots, I think, and you're done.
Well, most of them. So the shotgun, 2, but then it becomes 3. So you basically get half more, right? Which is okay, but it wasn't one of my favorites. Quick shot, which helped reduce reload time. I did like that one, but even better for me was kill reload.
Yeah, kill reload is great.
Because it's instantaneous. Once you kill one character, then you're ready to fire off at another. It's so amazing. That is one thing that I found really frustrating in this game, is how long it took for the next shot to be ready to go. Yeah,
and it's definitely done on purpose. But the great thing about kill shot is that because the game is so frantic and because you sometimes have to duck around corners, you know if you've made the shot because your gun will reload. You're like, oh, because you're not even looking at it, but you're like, oh, I know I made that. I'm ready to shoot again. Whereas without it, you're like, did I hit him? Oh, no, he's still alive.
The next would be the throwing hacks. Grenade, where you throw items and they explode against the wall.
In your face.
Possibly.
Not a fan of that.
My favorite. This is my favorite hack. Not the most practical.
No, it's not.
Not the most logical choice. But if I felt like I wasn't going to make it anyway, I would
just throwing martini glasses everywhere.
I'm down to 1 heart. I've got 4 nodes left. I'm just going to give it a try. I have killed people with exploding fish. I have killed people with a pair of sunglasses. I have killed guys with pretty much everything. One of my favorite things to do, especially at the beginning of a level, if I had that, you got those 2 guys against you, and again, you have something random like a bottle near you. Throw it against a wall behind them, let it smash both of them, and you're good to go. You have a good start. Sometimes when I was just frustrated with the game as well, like even if I wasn't losing, but I was just frustrated and I felt like I just wanted to quit, rage quit, if throw came up, I would giggle and I would go, fine game, let's give it a try. And when I made it through with this grenade, it just felt fun. Like that's the thing. So It wasn't the most practical. It wasn't the most useful for me because I did often, through a node, hurt myself 1 to 2 times, but it was the most fun. For me, this was definitely the most fun hack, and I used it, I think, more than you did.
I used it very little. I would only use it if it came up where it was like, it was that or something else that I didn't like, even, it was useless to me. It's like, okay, I'll take the bullets. But sometimes when I took it, I was like, oh no, but now I'm going to kill myself. Like, I don't actually want this. Because you get that in the game as well. There was some points where both choices, I'm like, I don't want either of those, but I got to choose one of them. Actually, no, you don't. You can press escape and continue.
Without choosing anything?
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I always chose something. But I don't know. Like I said, throwing grenades, like normal objects that became grenades for me was fun. Along with that is the super throw option, where everything becomes more powerful. A couple bottles, which normally just stun a guy, now breaks him, and you get to hear that lovely glass breaking. Or my favorite thing with super throw was throwing something that doesn't destroy itself upon impact and would normally wedge itself in a wall. So say a CD, a vinyl record, a shuriken. It did an amazing thing where if it connected with the enemy, it would actually come back at you.
Yeah.
And there were a number of times where I used that to my advantage of throwing it, catching it when it came back, throwing it again, catching it when it came back. I love that. That was
super
so
throw
much
is
fun.
great, man. That's a lot of fun. I've got definitely a kill reel of me just with a couple of things. So a lot of fun catching those. You feel like a real ninja.
And that's the thing. I think that they really captured the idea of throwing things as fun in this one.
My favorite was floppy disks, man. Floppy disks to the face.
I use that a lot. Credit cards.
Yeah.
Can work as well. Yeah, I wrote down a bunch of other throwables. So yeah, we've got bottles, briefcases, clocks.
Toy dinosaurs, teddy bears.
Yes, though my favorites were the ones that could be reused and reused. The credit card was difficult, but if you got the headshot, you did get them.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Of course, the pencil, the fork, the palette. Yeah, those are all deadly weapons, man.
The fan was one of my favorites. Yeah. Yeah, I loved when I got to the studio because I knew I would have the pallets.
Yeah.
I loved when I got to the dojo because I was going to head to those
two
fans in the back. As far as other gun ones, there was Ricochet, which would sort of have it bounce off the wall. It seems like a good idea, but it doesn't always work. Same thing with Shot Flow, where it's supposed to do headshot to headshot. It's great if you have two guys standing right next to each other, but both of those, if the closest enemy to the one you shoot is behind a wall, it's just going to go into a wall and not actually do anything.
That was one of the ones that I texted you about and said I like Shot Flow, and then 30 minutes later I was like, this is garbage. But to be fair,
did you come around?
I came around to it and it redeemed itself at the end because, well, it didn't redeem itself. I redeemed myself. I got better at the game and it is a lot more useful, but it does take skill. I just wasn't skilled enough to use it at the time because I'm like, it should just go. But yeah, but everything's moving. Yeah, like you said, so they've got to be quite close to each other. What it works really well with is the railgun because the railgun is instantaneous. So if you can set it up where there's like 3 guys in the room and there's like a flat open area, you can zip right through all 3 of them in one shot. Also, what I did like about it was it will go to the next enemy and it will just go into a wall if there's an enemy behind the wall, but now you know where that enemy is. So it's almost like a bit of a radar thing as well, which I thought was a bit helpful, especially when it goes up and you're like, there's a guy upstairs, like I can backtrack around and catch him. So yeah, I ended up really liking Shot Flow.
Pure Shot is another one that would be good for something like that, where if you have 2 enemies lined up right in front of you, you can shoot right through both of them, much like I would do with the katana all the time. But again, it just didn't seem to be happening enough that I felt it was worthwhile to choose that over something else.
Yeah, exactly. And the railgun does that automatically as well. So you can shoot through. Yeah, I think you can get 2 people with a railgun. Yeah, like I said, it's so instantaneous that the next enemy can be quite far behind.
There's Deflect All.
Never used it.
I tried, but I just, again, didn't find that it set itself up well enough, and I wasn't ever... Like, I did get Deflect occasionally, but not often enough that I would choose that over something that would be useful every map all the time. Again, you need to have something like the Start with Katana to make that work.
Right.
One I did like, especially when I was doing my Endless Waves, though, was Weapon Master. So if you did have the katana, or even if you didn't, and you had enough guys chasing after you with katanas that you could grab, It just made it, one, you could attack from much further away, and the more important thing is you could attack much quicker. Because, like with the guns, you can't, in its base form, attack. You've got to have a kind of cooldown time, run around somebody, avoid whatever they're going to attack you with, to give you just enough time to get your next attack with a katana. So I did enjoy that one. So with that, you've got your start katana, you have your start with random gun.
That was one of my favorites. Both of those were, whenever one of those came up, that was almost an automatic yes, please. Especially random gun, because sometimes you can start off with the rail gun. It's like the third time I've mentioned it in 5 minutes, so you can tell that's probably my favorite weapon.
Well, it's definitely the easiest to use because it's the only one that feels like it works in real time for you, the player.
Yeah, you can shoot someone on the other end of the room immediately.
You can take a crack shot on one of those concrete guys where you just see a bit of their arm.
Yeah, it's
such
a useful
any
gun.
other gun, that's so difficult for me to pull off.
Yeah, nah. If I ever shot one of those statue guys with a normal gun and got them from a ranged distance, it was always a fluke. Random gun was a good one.
We have Super Punch, which was okay. It allows you to
punch bullets, I think. Yeah.
Yes. So you can deflect bullets with your punch, which I, again, rarely used. But just the fact that you could take out the concrete guys with a punch. Right. I found towards the end game, which we are going to talk about, that punching was very important to me. And I didn't realize how important it was to me until the end game. Death Stomp, which was, for me, worthless. I, for most of the game, forgot I could even jump to begin with, unless I started behind a counter or something that I couldn't get around.
Yeah.
Anyway, why would they lock me in this room? This feels very unfair. Oh, it's because I can jump out. I would forget that. But even when I got that hack, and it lets you do the kind of tutorial sample things, it was just one guy I was going up against. It took me ages to figure out even how to jump in there to kill him. Because if I just jump, is it like a ground pound where if I just jump in front of him, he's going to shatter? Or do I have to jump on top of his head like I'm Super Mario? What do I have to do? So I never did quite figure it out. And it took me so long with that I don't think I ever chose it.
Because that was the joke from Superhot, was I think the achievement was, it's a me, when you jump on someone for the first time in Superhot. And I don't know, the guys at the Superhot development team, they must have a real soft spot for Mario, because there's another Mario Easter egg in this game, which is on, I can't even remember what level it was, but you basically throw a wrench at a pipe and it says the same thing, it's a me, and then a terminal will pop up and you get into it. They've definitely got something for Mario.
And Bob Ross.
And Bob Ross.
Did you ever get that?
Yeah.
And you threw at the paint tube?
Yeah.
What does it say? Happy little
mistakes or happy little accidents, yeah.
The final one I've got on my list is Berserk, which seems like a great one, but I couldn't always quite make it work. And then when I looked it up on this list, it said that Berserk is activated, I think, after you punch somebody or after you hit somebody, whereas the description of it in the game is a bit misleading. It just says you can't be hurt in close combat. So yes. I thought, well, I will just run up and be close to everyone and then they can never hurt me, but that's not the way it works.
No, there's like a visual and an audio cue as well. When you punch someone, the screen will like shake a little bit, and it's only a short time where you're invulnerable. So yeah, if there's a bunch of guys around you trying to attack you at the same time, as long as you're punching someone, you're invincible. I used that a couple of times. Again, it definitely wasn't my favorite. Did we talk about light reflex though? Because I
didn't do light reflex.
I like that one.
There's super fast as well, where I think you can move very quickly. Yeah. I chose that one quite often. That's useful. Like that one. But light reflex.
Light reflex, yeah, that was the one where it's like basically it's more like the Matrix, where the closer the bullets get to you, the more slowly they move, which is fun. But it's, again, if it's like a choice between that and random gun, sorry, I'm taking random gun.
My problem was, that's great if you're going to deflect things.
Again, yeah, maybe it would be good for a synergy for that.
It would be good synergy for that, but
everything's random.
But what didn't make it work for me was light reflex makes the bullets move really slow, which makes them easier to avoid if you have room to get around them. There were times where the bullets were in my way and moving at near zero speed because they were so close to me, and I couldn't get around them.
Just trapped in a corner waiting to die.
Basically. Trying to inch my way very close, try and avoid getting hit. I would say that it probably does help more than it hurts, but there were just enough times where that happened where I said, I don't really want this. I will choose it if it is the lesser of two evils, but it wasn't my favorite. I didn't use it a lot.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say what my problem was with it was that it's very easy to move out of the path of bullets, but then into the path of other bullets that you didn't know were there behind you, So yeah, not my favorite. So what were your kind of favorites then out of all of them? What were your like 3 top picks then? Well, we know your core would be hearts.
Yes.
So
my core was always hearts. So pretty much anything that had to do with hearts or healing would be my top one. Yep. That would be what I'd go for. If I was being practical, so not grenade and blowing everything up, it's a good question. I think that I would often choose things like kill reload, kill heal, but again, that has to do with hearts. Mm-hmm. I was big into super throw or super punch.
Okay.
But fast move also I found, especially when I was doing my endless waves, fast move helped a lot because that not only helped me get to where I wanted to be, but it also helped me avoid a lot of damage because I could just move so much faster than the guys that are attacking.
Right.
What about you? What were your top?
Yeah. Hot switch. Almost every time. Again, if I got a chance to heal, I would because I only had 2 hearts. So every time I got a chance to heal or take kill heal, that was a no-brainer. Kill heal was a savior on that kind of playthrough. But yeah, if I got a chance to start with a random gun, I always took random gun and perfect switch because that's the one where you can zip from body to body to body. Oh, no, sorry, not perfect switch. Perfect switch and ultra switch. Sorry, those would be my 2 supporting kind of traits that I would take because perfect switch is the one that we haven't talked about because you didn't really use switch a lot. Perfect switch is when you can switch into their body, but they don't throw away their gun, which is super annoying. Like, why would you even do that? It's like, I have control of you. Don't throw the gun away when I zip into you. Perfect switch is great because you see a guy with a gun that you want or anything. Like, okay, I'm going into you and I'm taking your shotgun. Ultra switch is the one where you can switch multiple times in a row.
What happens when you jump into one of the enemies that has the red weapon that normally can't separate from them? Do you get that weapon or does that get lost?
I think you get that weapon. I don't actually remember now, but I've definitely done it. And I think you get to keep it. Yeah. Because those red guys are pretty annoying. They're annoying, but it's a good little addition to the game where, yeah, you're going through, like, I'll just throw a teacup in this guy's face and he'll drop his weapon. But these guys, no, they don't drop their weapons. They're part of their bodies. So that's another obstacle for you to overcome.
Well, it's not only just that, but if they don't drop the weapon, then you don't get that weapon.
Exactly, yeah.
And so there's some very late game, it's all red weapons and you don't get any of them. You have to make do with just what's
That's what I was going to say. What level was that? Was that...
I think that's actually after you get to what I would call the end and come back again.
Yeah, because it was just all red weapons. Yeah, that's right. And so you basically... Yeah, even if you throw stuff at them, all you're going to do is stun them. But yeah, you don't get the gun from them, which is a shame.
Next, I would like to just talk about the waves. There was the infinite map, which I think is the one where you just switch from map to map to map as long as you can, which I only made about 5 before I gave up on that one. And then there are the unlimited levels where it says to get 0 out of 10. I got all of them, but I don't know if it does anything. I didn't really notice if it did anything. But here's the thing. Unlimited levels, it's a fun concept. I do really like it. There were some times, though, where, for example, on the station map, I had figured it out so well that I got up to 44 or 45 waves, Whoa. Something like that. I was really getting bored by the end. I kind of figured it out. I had a good setup that was all based around healing and the katana. So I was moving fast. I was attacking fast. I could often get to 3 out of the 4 guys on the map before they would even get out of the door or right after they got out of the door. There's a point where it just starts to get boring, where it doesn't change much. Early on, it's great. Every few waves, you get a new hack to play around with, and it's just fun to get to explore the map and to just use it again and again and again. But yeah, it is one thing where it's just, I don't know if there's a point where it would do anything different.
So is that unlimited then? Seeing as you got quite far, is there a limit to the number of hacks that you get?
Yes. So there's a certain point where it just stops.
Ah, okay. How many? What is the limit? It looks like it should be 6 by what fits on the bottom of the screen.
It's probably 6. I was thinking 6 or 7, but it's probably 6. So you get to choose your core, and then you get
Six more.
6. Yeah. But again, it's very random.
Because I didn't mess around with those levels. I'm not really a fan of those endless wave kind of things. I left that for you to struggle through and see if you got anything at the end, but looks like nothing, yeah?
To me, but
not even a bit of lore, not even like a little terminal opens up and gives you a little thing?
I don't think so.
Nothing?
I don't remember. I just remember going, oh, is that it? Like, that seemed like a lot. Towards the end, I was just getting to wave 11 and going, done, out, done, out. Node 100, I don't know, like I said, if it covers every map, but it certainly covers most of them. I don't know if I'll ever get to the end of it. But you don't need to. And like you said, that's a very nice thing. The unlimited, the infinite, the Node 100, you don't actually have to do. Even part of Node 8, you don't have to do.
Yeah.
You get to the give up section, which you and I were both, I think, convinced that give up meant you're just going to end the game and
crash
you just
to
go
desktop.
out.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be just something clever.
But they did do something clever. And what you have to do is you have to give up your powers one by one. You have to give up a core. And as you're giving up that core, you're going to have to face off against that killer a lot in that node. Giving up charge, not a huge concern for me. Giving up recall of my katana. Again, having to face the ninja, not great, but I didn't really mind so much giving that up. Hot switch, I was a bit disappointed, but giving up my heal, giving up that, because when you gave up more hearts, you were giving up everything. It was at the same time, I think you have to give up all the hacks.
Yeah, because once you get past that, it's like those 3 main cores, you're like, you go into the next part and it's like, because every time you go to the bit behind, it's like you haven't given up.
And you haven't given up enough.
You haven't given up enough. And then you get all 3 of them away and then it's like, nope, now you got to get rid of even the sub hacks. Like, oh man, really?
And this, honestly, it was frustrating, but I think this for me was one of the best parts of the game because it felt the most fair.
Yeah.
I had no hacks. The enemies didn't really have a lot of specials. I didn't have to face off against the super killers anymore. It was fun.
Yeah.
And then the game's over.
Is that over, that part?
Well, sort of. So it will tell you constantly that the game is over. It takes you out, and this is where you see red messages saying, that's it. You've won everything. It's all over.
Oh, no. There's one bit before that.
What's that?
The bit where not only do you have to give up all your cores, you have to give up jumping. You have to give up...
yes. Now that's the most clever thing.
Yeah. Because I was like, what the hell is going on here? Because all my hacks are gone. I've got nothing. I've got like, what was it, 1 heart or 2 hearts? And then the first thing I get into is like, give up punching or give up shooting.
Yes,
like,
that's what I got.
All right. Well, I guess I've got to give up shooting or punching? Well, yeah.
I gave up punching at first, and then I found through multiple plays of that actually I can still punch, but with shooting, you have to have a gun to shoot.
Exactly.
Right? But you can always punch. So it became, my order was get rid of shooting.
Yeah.
For me, then, it was very tough if I had to give up between throwing and punching. Oftentimes, I would still choose punching so that I could keep throwing, but I think towards the end, I gave up on that and was like, no, it has to be punching because no matter what, I can always punch.
Yeah. But it just gets ridiculous because it's like, give up jumping, give up walking.
Jumping was fine.
Give up moving.
Giving up moving. I got to that one and it was give up moving or give up looking.
Yeah, give up looking.
Actually, I got at one point where I had throwing, but I gave up looking. And then I realized I can't actually pick up an item if I can't look to see where it is. So that I was just running around waiting for them to kill me. And basically, the game is making you choose to give up.
Yeah, physically give up, like properly. Like
you have to say, I give up. You're tapping out. You're saying, I can't do this. And it's very frustrating because maybe there's one map that I never reached. Maybe that's why I think there's only 31.
Okay.
Because when you haven't seen a map yet, and the node, it'll just be dots. And I had one of those. And it constantly came up as the last one on this level. And I was never going to get to the last one, right? So it was just really frustrating because I kept thinking there must be a way to do it.
Right, no.
But there isn't.
No,
right?
there's not.
You literally have to give up. And then that takes me to the part I was mentioning before.
That's right.
You've won, you've done everything. What are you worried you don't have all the achievements? Which, of course, you don't. At most, you can have 13 at this point because there's one to come up. you get to a point where the whole screen will just be flooded with this almost brain shape of messages saying the same thing over and over again. You've done it, you've won, goodbye, but there's no way to leave the game.
Yeah.
So even if you thought, I think that is a clever choice that they made here. Even if you thought you'd actually finish the game, you haven't finished the game, and they're letting you know you haven't because there's no easy way to exit out. You will go over a weird pattern. It took me a long time to realize that I could actually move the screen.
Yeah.
So you can move the screen around, go over this weird pattern of stuff.
How long did you spend there? I spent at least a good hour moving around that thing, man.
I would say I probably did because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be doing.
I found a bunch of games.
Yes. So when you say how much time do you spend there, that's a bit weird because there are other things I did. There's the cat thing that just says meow. That's nothing. Did you find that?
I don't think I found the cat.
Not worth going back for. It's just an image of a cat and it says meow.
A real cat or like a pixel cat?
A pixel cat.
Okay.
There's
Tree Dude.
Yes.
Which is from the first game.
Chop Chop. Is it? See, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it's in one of the menus in the original Superhot.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that for a few tries.
Yeah.
And then I found this other game.
Did you find like the weird, almost like a Sokoban version of Superhot?
Yes.
Yeah, that was really cool. I'd like to play more of that.
So when you ask how long did you stay here?
Right,
a
while.
very long time because I made it all the way through.
Oh, did you finish that one?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't finish it.
And it takes a while.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah. There are many levels. It's a very cool concept. You could see how it is super hot. It doesn't really explain what you need to do, but you start to put it together very quickly since you've just been playing this game for so long.
I got to a level where there was 3 guys, and I didn't really understand if I could shoot. Can you shoot?
I didn't find a way to shoot.
But I couldn't find a way to like get rid of... If there's 3 guys, then I can get 2 of them dead, but I can't get the last one dead.
I don't know the exact one you're talking about, so that's a bit difficult. Here are some of the things I found in the... I guess we will call it the Sokoban version, right? So I could avoid bullets. There is the kind of carrot arrowhead of where the bullet actually is, and the lines that just show movement. You can step into those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I found that I could get sometimes characters to shoot other characters.
I thought that was the whole point of the game, but is it not?
Not always.
Ah, okay.
You can get close if you time the pattern right so that they're right next to you. You can kill them, even if they're armed, even if they're...
Just move into them.
Move into them.
I didn't do that. That's why I gave up, because I was like, this is impossible. I was like, this is a waste of my time. Next! I want to find the exit, the real exit, or more games.
And I think that's it.
Did you get anything for finishing it? Does it just say, well done, congratulations?
I will say this. There's a tiny bit of story in there, which is somewhat interesting. You have a pixelated friend who says, oh, you need to play this Superhot game. It's amazing. And as you're playing it, he says, oh, I ordered us a pizza. And you see this. It's not really pixelated. It's the old making pictures out of the symbols you can use from the keyboard, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's that kind of thing. So that's what the cat looked like, and that's what your friend looks like. But also, he orders you a pizza, and the pizza looks like that as well. You know, it's got
okay.
mushrooms and pepperoni on it. And then it slowly disappears, and then your friend starts to get concerned for you, say, oh, I think you're playing a bit too much. I think you should stop. And this is after every few maps, right? So you get a few maps, and then he says something, and he gets more and more concerned. He says things like, people broke into my house last night. This is really weird. And so you get the impression, much like the original base game of Superhot, that what you're doing is somehow affecting your friend.
Oh, okay.
But much like the original Superhot, you can't let go, and you have to keep going. It's honestly a lot of fun, more fun than it should be, considering I just played a graphically much more interesting, much more fun FPS version. But for them to add this whole mini game, which is based on some of the same mechanics as Superhot, was pretty amazing.
I mean, as soon as you look at it, like even if as you take your first step and then you see the arrows moving, you instantly know what you're playing. That's incredible.
Now, as far as actually getting out of here, that took me a long time to figure out. Some
other games? Did you find the Western standoff?
No, I missed out on that.
That's quite funny. Basically, you play like a gunslinger, I think it's called, is it called Gunslinger? It might be, but basically it's just like you and another guy, and it's got like 3, 2, 1, and you have to press the button at the exact moment to shoot the other guy. This guy's, you got to kill this guy. It's called Revenge. I think it's called Revenge. So basically you shoot the guy and it's like, whatever the guy's name is, like Dirty Peter. So you got to kill him. So you kill Dirty Peter, and it's like Dirty Peter was a guy who was helping bad guys become good guys. It's like every time you kill someone, you just made to feel really bad about it, which is quite funny. And what else? Other games wise, yeah, I didn't find anything, but eventually I found the exit. Right. It took me forever to find the exit. You have
to follow that line all the way around to say, yes, I want to go back into the world. Yes, give me back my game. And then comes the most annoying thing in the entire game. It says, fine, you want it back? You have to wait 2.5 hours.
Yeah, of actual load up the game and wait time.
Yes.
Not like just come back when your PC clock is 2.5 hours later. Like, you need to run this. This has pissed off a lot of people.
And understandably, you get to this point, it's almost what you always talk about, your Hideo Kojima 3-hour cutscene. This is what this felt like. You couldn't do anything else with it. You had to just wait. If you finished this part just before going to bed or something,
which I did,
you're out of luck, right?
Well, not entirely. Well, here's 2 things. Number 1, in the original, it was 8 hours. So they changed it from 8 hours to 2.5, which I think is a good call because I get what they're trying to do. I understand it. And I personally have got no problem with this, because what you can do is you can minimize the screen. You can go and play another game, or you can go and do something else.
Sort of.
Well, you can until the music kicks in.
That's the problem. So an hour in.
Really annoying music.
I'm watching Dark, a series that has fantastic soundtrack and music that always seems fitting. And there's this very serious moment and this kind of montage where normally music comes in. Sometimes it's pop song, but it's always kind of dark and haunting. And in this one, for some reason, Dark chose to play this chiptune song from like the Nintendo era. But this is a very odd choice. What's going on? Took me until the montage was over for me to go, wait a second.
This music's still playing.
The music is still playing. Where is this music coming from? Realize it's coming from Mind Control Delete, and nothing I do will stop it, will turn it off. I basically just have to mute the monitor where my speakers are and not be able to do anything because I can't watch anything on Netflix. So I had to stop watching Dark for another hour and wait for it to finish. So I just had to go elsewhere. Luckily for me, it was still early evening. So I didn't have to worry about like going to sleep and leave my computer run all night.
Well, I didn't want to leave my computer running all night. So I experimented a little bit. And so I was like, nah, screw this. I'm Control Alt Delete, Mind Control Delete. I just switched it off that way. And I was like, screw it. I'm pretty much done. I got my 100%. I think you get your 100% by that point. Maybe not. But I was willing to forgo the achievement or do it again because I was like, I don't want to leave my computer on all night. Like, I'm going to go to bed now. No. So I switched it off. Luckily, what you can do is when you start it up, when you boot up Superhot again, it just starts you off from the exact download time that you got to. So by the time when I rebooted Mind Control Delete, I had about 45 minutes left. Because, I must have done 2 hours, almost 2 hours, just pottering around, doing other things. I was maybe working. I think I was doing some boring work stuff. And so that was fine. But suddenly the music just kicks in. And I was like, what the hell is that? I liked it for a little bit, but I was like, I don't want to listen to that for the next hour. Like, just mute that.
Yeah, that was really irritating for me.
I mean, the Stanley Parable, with the whole don't play for, 4 years or something like that achievement. And so I get it. And what I like about this is that it's really annoyed a lot of people because that's what the game is, for me, is all about. It's about addiction and it's about taking things too far. And people getting angry about not being able to play more of the game is kind of ironic to me.
But for me, it wasn't even so much about I can't play more of the game. It's that you've taken over my computer.
Yeah. And that's part of the theme of the game as well. But what I also like is, what did it spurn? It spurned a bunch of people to put together a hack so that you can bypass this part and you don't have to do the 2.5 hour thing. You just go, boop, one button, and it zips through it as a mod. Done. And that's, again, what this game is about. So, yeah, I think they should have kept it at 8 hours.
I'm glad they didn't. When you get to the other side, that's when you get your
Is that when you get the 100 achievement? Okay.
Yeah, which all the achievements say more. Like, that's all they say. More. Your new core is pure, where...
Yeah, I won't be doing that one.
Play with no advantages. Well, that's not fun. Especially when I played the newest node that came up, and it was just all red guys with red weapons.
Yes.
And you just have to make do with what's in the room.
Oh, that's right, because you get all the error nodes now. Yeah, that's what's next. You've got every level, every section now has 1 or 2 error nodes, which are just all red guys. So you just got to make do with what you get in the environment. And yeah, that's pretty tough.
And that for me is the end of the game.
And that's for me.
I'm not sure that I want to go back in. I'm sure that it could be fun to go back at times and do it. I'm sure that at some point I'm going to go back to either the base game or this game again because it is fun. But I don't really want to torture myself beyond that. I stopped when it stopped being fun. Same thing with the endless wave levels. I stopped trying to do as many as possible when I realized it wasn't really giving me anything, when it just stopped being fun. So yeah, I'm quite happy with what I got. Now, as far as I'm going to throw my meaning in right here, which is primarily for me, Superhot Mind Control Delete is a DLC which continues the message of the first one, but even more so with this one just saying, don't overdo it. And don't expect too much. For me, it comes primarily for those two angles. One, we're developers, we're trying, but we can't keep up with what you want because you always just want more.
Yeah.
As gamers, we always want more. We want more until it's not good, and then we don't want it anymore, and we're ready to complain about it and move on to the next thing. That message feels like that's throughout here, as well as, hey, there's more to life than this game, which is a very weird message for a game
that wants to sell copies. Yeah.
But I think that it's very fitting. It fits well with the original messages of the original game and the kind of addiction and the wanting more, and them constantly throughout this game just saying, there isn't more. There isn't any story. There was one message that said, those secret nodes, those are pointless. They don't really mean anything. Saying all of those things. And yet I wanted to keep playing. I made it all the way through. Well, as through as I'm going to get. It's a weird thing to be told exactly what you know already, but to still keep going.
Yeah.
And that's very much what it's about for me. I love it. I think that it worked very well. I think if people were expecting more story for this one, it's DLC. It's not a second game. And even a second game, I'm not sure if there is going to be a story or if there needs to be.
I think it's vague enough to be good enough for like fans to make up their own theories and come up with their own ideas. I think if they actually put a story to it, it wouldn't be as good as what the fans have already come up with on their own. And I think they know that too. And exactly what you just said is kind of, that's definitely one part of my idea of this. On the one hand, it's like, as a consumer item, I guess, it's got all these messages of, because they got bombarded with angry fans who love them but also hate them. Like, Superhot was too short. It wasn't enough. You need to do more. Why are you not making? Why is this taking so long? You know, and blah, 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 blah. And so this game is like, well, we'll give you more. We will give you more. But that's why I think the 100% is in there, and it doesn't include Node 100. It's like, we want to kind of make fun of you guys for like demanding all this of us. So we're going to give it to you. But for the normal people who are just like, they just want to play a game and be done with it, this is also for them. But if you really want to play pure mode, yeah, get to the end. I did watch a playthrough of Node 100, which took 1 hour and 40 minutes. And just like, better man than I am. And at the end, you get a text, you get a little bit of lore, like from the little hashtag things on the main menu. It's about the dog. The dog says, "What do you want?" And he's like, something like, "Obey, kill, whatever." And that's it. It's a good boy. So that's what you get. You get called a good boy for doing Node 100, you dog. Brilliant. But I really wonder if there is something like that for finishing it on pure. Because I have a theory about, okay, let's not talk about the kind of the real side, like the game side of aspect of it. Let's look at the actual in-game story of it. I think there might be something if you do finish it on Pure. I'd be really interested to see what it is, but it's going to take someone way better.
What do you think it is?
I think finishing on Pure is going to be, if we go back, this would maybe have, I don't know, can we have spoilers for Superhot? Oh, no.
We already did. We're in the spoiler section, so it doesn't matter.
But I mean for Superhot as a game, like, yeah.
Okay, well, here's your warning, listeners. Yeah. If you somehow jumped into Mind Control Delete,
which some people have,
without playing the original, and you're worried about the story to original Superhot, well, there you go.
Switch off, right. Yeah, so in the first game, you've got the system, which gets in contact with you, and basically it's like, oh, I've got this game. I don't think that it's your friend that gives it to you. I think it's someone posing as your friend. Play this game, gets you addicted. In the original Superhot, like 7-day FPS one, you basically go in and you have to kill someone called the CEO. I think the CEO is maybe the person who's made this AI. Pretty clear there's an AI involved in this, because in the end of Superhot, you upload yourself to the core, right? And then you have to kill your body. I won't say any spoilers for Superhot VR because we've both not played it. I got spoiled, but let me just say that it does tie into what I'm going to talk about a little bit without giving anything away from that game. Because that game does sound like it's got a lot more story to it. It looks very interesting. I really want to get a Valve Index or a Vive or the Oculus. But yeah, so you go in there and this sphere, not a sphere, it's like a pyramid, isn't it? The core AI. So you merge with it. I think that the game, we thought, or at least I thought before, that it was kind of like one of those Black Mirror episodes where you're the soldier in VR, but you don't actually know what you're fighting against. And I kind of backtrack from that now. I think that maybe this is more of like a battle royale where this AI is basically getting people to upload their consciousness into its core, getting rid of their bodies, and then for some reason facing them all off against each other, which kind of makes sense with why you can switch bodies. You wouldn't be able to hot switch in real life if you're assassinating someone. So that doesn't really make sense that we're using this virtual environment to like do real life missions controlling like drone bodies, which is what I kind of thought from Superhot 1. Now I think it's more like this AI is on a quest to find the purest form. And I think when you maybe beat the game on Pure, that's the ultimate end game and you become some god, like right-hand man of the AI, or maybe merge exactly with the AI. I'm really not sure. That's just guessing stuff, but it does feel like the whole thing is like a battle royale. Once you go around and you find the secret terminals, which was a lot of fun, I think you'd like that, like going and finding them. Some of them are really hard to find. I had to use a walkthrough.
That's the thing. A little bit it would be fun, but when I would get frustrated, I mean, you can't just go in and walk around. You have to go into all the maps and hope you get through all the nodes.
No, you just select. I just went through them through the endless.
Okay.
So everyone has one.
So they're in there in that one. Yeah, that would be more.
They're in every level. It won't take you long, especially if you use a walkthrough. I used a walkthrough because some of them are really hard. I don't know how people found them out, because what you have to do is you have to pick up things from the environment and then you just have to throw them at other things. So for example, in the bank, there's two key cards. There's only 2 credit card key cards on the map. You got to find them and then you got to throw them at the wall where there should be this card reader, but it doesn't look like a card reader. It just looks like a square. But you do that and then you find the other one and you do it to the other one and then the door opens and you get in. Some of them, like the canal, there's one right under the canal. The one in the lab, it's right in the lab. Some of them, of course, I had to jump out of some maps once I found you could get on rafters and things like that. So there's a lot of parkour involved. And so you'll enjoy those. Like, just watch a bit of a walkthrough just to find out where the trail begins. And then that's what I did. I just like, okay, now I know what I have to do for this. And then find out where you've got to go and things like that. What you get at the end isn't probably worth it for you, but it was for me because I like those little stupid bits of stories. So you find out that Dog was uploaded to the AI core in 1989. He looks like he's the prototype because it's got like Dog, cause of death is like he's not dead. His body is still in the facility of origin. He's body number 329. His mind was voluntarily donated to the system. Then you've got Ninja. Ninja, cause of death, multiple gunshot wounds. He's kind of manic depressive, suicidal guy. And then you've got the Addict, who is single headshot wound. I think that might be us maybe from the first Superhot. That's who we turned into once we merged with the core. And who we are now, I've got no idea. But it looks to me like it's some kind of massive battle royale for the ultimate, pure, the hardest of the hardcore player that can do this game with no powers. So that would be my 2 cents. And then what happens when you do that, I've got no idea, though. I like the idea of basically what I wrote down was CEO creates AI, AI kills creator through you, and then basically collects souls through Superhot exe files, spreads them on the ground with pirates, and then now we're on this mission to attain purity inside the AI. That's what I've got.
Well, that's...
But I won't be doing it.
Better than anything else I came up with, and I won't be doing it either.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a good way to spend a week.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I might come back to it again, but probably not anytime soon.
Would you go back and play the first Superhot?
I definitely would at some point, but not anytime soon.
You should go and play the original one. That's like it's in a web browser. You don't even have to download it.
Oh, that one you mean?
Have you played
I thought
it?
you were talking about the one that we played and talked about before.
No. There's like one in a web browser. It's basically just 2 or 3 levels. And you should see how far they've come. Like, wow. But I remember playing that original back in the day when it was released, and it was like, oh, this is amazing. But now looking at it, it's, oh my God, that's terrible. Yeah, the original Superhot prototype is, you can go to Superhot, just Google Superhot on your Google thing, and then it takes you right to it. It's 10 minutes.
10 minutes I could do.
Yeah.
I just don't want to jump into another 33 hours of it.
No. Gaps filled or more gaps created?
Today we are going to discuss a game called Oxenfree. How would we describe this game?
Maybe the way that the developers described it, as a talky, pointy, clicky game.
I know
that
there will be a couple points where you may have chosen things differently.
Yeah, I mean, even from the beginning, like, who did you rescue first?
What Darren has explained to me is that on sequential playthroughs, if you play through again, then things are slightly different.
Very different.
Or very different. All this and more on the next episode of Filling in the Gaps.